Welcome, everybody. This is our PCA Live broadcast for Government Affairs Update. We've got Joshua Habersky and Patrick Anderson ready to talk with you about everything government affairs. So without further ado, I'm just going to let them take it away.
Thanks, Aaron. Happy Friday, everyone. Glad to be back. We're going to be doing a monthly broadcast, kind of talking about different things related to government affairs, both federal and state. We will do an update in 2 weeks with Glenn Loop on the totality of the state measures that we're involved with. We put together the information earlier this morning, and we've tracked 5,000 bills so far in the state legislation this session. We're getting to a better point there with a lot of the state activities where there's crossover and some adjournment of state legislatures, so we don't have to worry about as much activity. But there are still pressing concerns in a few states. Some of the trends since our last broadcast that we talked about, we have a new tax increase bill in Nevada, which we're working on with local retailers and manufacturers there to oppose. And we'll be launching a grassroots action alert next week on that. Of course, we did have a big victory, which we appreciate all the cigar media covering and highlighting. It was really great working with the Michigan State Association and Andy Hyde and Dave Jessup for getting the win there of having those cigar lounges reopen. We appreciate the Director of Health and Human Services for the state for taking the input of our industry, and in terms of legislative and regulatory time, really getting a fast win where folks were able to reopen. And we appreciate all the work that the retailers in Michigan did in voicing their concerns on that as well.
Yeah, that Michigan effort, Josh, really showed the power that PCA can bring to the table in leveraging its lobbying arm in conjunction with the grassroots work that each individual retailer in Michigan put forth in contacting their legislators to make sure that the voice got heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now the momentum, we will have a tax cap battle. We have to defend the tax cap in Michigan, which we're already having conversations about. There's a bit of a 2-week reprieve in that legislature. So we're getting our strategy together there. But a lot of good stuff has come out of Michigan recently there. And we have a captive audience and an engaged membership base there, and the leadership of the state association was really something that I think was impactful in getting that decision in our favor. Another bit of good news, in Florida, S334 is a bill that would prohibit smoking on public parks and public beaches. And in January, Marvin Holthauser, one of our PCA board of directors, testified in opposition to that, arguing that it would be detrimental to his store in Florida, and that premium cigars and pipe tobacco aren't, something that needs to be included in that bill. And it recently was in the Committee of Natural Resources, and they passed a substitute amendment that provided an exemption for premium cigars and pipe tobacco. There were a lot of different industry allies and some of the other trade groups that were involved in that effort as well. But from the PCA perspective, we sent over 3,000 letters on that and had Marvin testify, which was really impactful. That direct went to Tallahassee, told his personal story. So we're really grateful for his time and efforts in seeing that through. Also in the states, we're working on, I mentioned tax caps in Michigan. We're also, looking at tax caps in Illinois and New York, typically two challenging states in terms of some of the legislative activities. But again, we have really engaged state associations. I think the cooperation there has really made these past 3 months successful, where you look at some of the other industries and even Coordinate in the greater tobacco space that have had much more problems. And I think we've been able to defeat a lot of these stuff, obviously because of the work that Glenn's doing, Ryan Parada, our team, but really we're leading with the retailers, their stories, and their consumers as well. So all in all, in the states, that there are a lot of good signs. Also, some challenges. We've had 2 cigar bar bills that were stalled. Basically permitting alcohol sales in conjunction with premium cigar sales. That was stalled in North Dakota and Montana. And that's really disappointing. We're putting together an op-ed. All of the public health groups came out in opposition as, it being an exemption or a loophole to the Clean Air Act. And, our arguments is that we want legal adults to be able to purchase legal products, and providing a venue for that in a controlled environment, an age-verified environment, should be something that we can all work together on. Unfortunately, they don't see it that way, and they have the absolutist view of let's ban all tobacco products, let's ban premium cigars, even in adult age-verified venues. So we have to push back there. There's still a bill in Maine that is out there that we'll continue to work on. But as the state legislative sessions that are still in session and into the next year, that's going to be an area of emphasis for us where we can work with a lot of these groups. And even if you are an opponent of some tobacco products, this is, I think, the most common ground approach where there's no age issues in these venues. But I want to switch focus a little bit, and Patrick, you've been helping us out with some of the states because we had 5,000 different bills to sift through. But your main focus is working with me on the federal side as our lead consultant. Let's talk a little bit about where things stand now, the state of play. What do you see as the near future in Congress?
Yeah, so COVID has really still had a major impact in all the legislatures, but because unlike the states, Washington really works sort of year round. It has kind of slowed down the pace of things up here. And we are really just now getting to a point where Congress is looking at things that are not specifically COVID related and starting to push for infrastructure packages, healthcare related legislation, air quality legislation. And they're kind of starting to get into all of the other areas that we normally have to be sort of tracking on a regular basis, making sure that they're not slipping things in that's going to impact retail cigar stores and premium cigar manufacturers. So one of the things that has come up is referred to as the Mama's Act. And it's a bill that is designed to increase research funding, public awareness, and training, and all kinds of good things that are designed to limit infant and maternal mortality rates across the country. The issue that we have with it is that it is a very expensive plan, and the only way that they have thought of to pay for it is on the back of the tobacco industry. And so it is looking to do 2 things. One is a massive increase on the tax on cigarettes, and then what they are referring to as tobacco parity, which is bringing up every other subcategory of tobacco to be taxed at that same rate. And in a way, there's a little bit of honesty in that, in that we've always fought against being sort of lumped in, as the premium cigar industry sort of lumped into efforts to tax the rest of the industry. And we have always said that it feels as though none of the folks who are advocating for these things understand that all tobacco products are not the same. And what they are essentially doing with the pay-for side of this bill is making everybody exactly the same, and saying that it doesn't matter what type of a tobacco product you are. If you make a tobacco product, you are going to be taxed at the new rate, which is significantly higher than the old rate. In fact, we're talking about an over 10,000% increase, for example, on pipe tobacco. It's astronomical, and it's not because anyone says, well, it seems like pipe tobacco really is kind of skirting the fence here. It's just that they want to bring everyone up to the same level of taxation.
And it's important to note that this has been introduced in previous Congresses. I think that, we are going to do our due diligence and ensure that we oppose this outright, and put together a full campaign to educate lawmakers, specifically in the Senate, where this bill has been introduced. We expect a House complement, will be added, as it has been in previous Congresses. But Senator Durbin being the lead, he's the #2 in the Senate. We just want to make sure that this doesn't get any steam. Patrick and I, a year and a half ago, presented in front of 20 staff members of TTV, who handles the tax collection side. And we hope to have a follow-up meeting to discuss this, directly with them, to ensure that, and a lot of that initial meeting was about the distinction between the different product categories. But, this is something that's on the radar right now. We expect, Chairman Pallone in the House to also have an anti-tobacco bill federally. So, I think for the first 3 months, we were inundated with state activities, also monitoring what was going on federally. Patrick and I have done over 30 meetings with freshmen in Congress, educating them on, premium cigars and the distinctions and uniqueness of that. We'll continue those and finishing up those meetings. We have more next week, but we now have a few core talking points and pieces of legislation that we can oppose as something that would be extremely harmful for the industry. In these efforts, as we build the campaigns out, we will need the support of manufacturers, retailers, and consumers as we engage the industry in opposition against something this harmful. And, as Patrick mentioned, the bill itself, there's a noble cause behind it, but the way that they go about doing it it would, destroy the industry, so to speak. So we have to provide that distinction as well, and be careful. The complexity of this bill really is apparent once you look through it. So we'll be providing some updates on that. And next week we will be launching a grassroots campaign where you can go to cigaraction.org and write to your U.S. Senator and House of Representative member in opposition to this bill, specifically the language about tobacco product increases for the large cigar category, which most of the premium cigars fall into, as well as pipe tobacco. So we will keep everybody apprised of what's going on there, but also continue that drumbeat of these initial meetings. We are planning to engage with CTP. Also recently we have a new Secretary of Health and Human Services that was successfully, he was confirmed, and the Senate confirmed in a very close vote. So we will have to engage with HHS, and right now they don't have a hearing scheduled for an FDA commissioner. But we expect that to be having to take place in the next few months as well.
That's right, and we know there's been quite a bit of hopeful anxiety, waiting for some final rules to come out that would help sort of distinguish or define, what a premium cigar is and how it's to be treated in pre-market review processes. Those things all are dependent on leadership being present at FDA, and right now they're still operating with an acting administrator, and they're still sort of the Biden administration is still on the hunt for who is going to ultimately lead that agency. But we anticipate there will be additional work there in the near future.
Yeah. But no, I think we're, like I mentioned at the onset of the discussion, at the state level, we're still have a lot ahead of us. But federally, we're definitely turning on the gas a little bit to make sure that things are protected there. As always, if you have any issues, whether it be local, state, federal, in your area, please feel free to reach out to me directly or anyone on our team, so that we can address the concerns and issues from the very beginning. And again, I can't say it enough that the efforts of the state association leadership in so many states have been instrumental into a good fortified position where we're in right now. One of the things that we're planning on doing internally, and we'll be showcasing it to our membership, is a new state association update guide. Heavy emphasis in advocacy and involvement. Aaron does a great job in the communication side of things, so we'll be sending out some updates on cigar.org, where retailers are able to sign up consumers. We're trying to grow that army. 3,000 is a good number, but we got to compete against the 30,000 of some of these public health groups that have a significant grassroots presence. So we need to get more and more people involved, with the efforts of PCA, and we'll continue to build resources that are most useful to you as retailers, and the cornerstone of our membership. But we hope everybody has a great Friday. The weather here in DC is nice, so hopefully you get to enjoy a cigar. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out and thank you to Alec Rubin, who stopped to the office this week from Alec Bradley and provided us some great cigars that we're enjoying today. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe.